Our state has some incredible problems. My name is Lynn, Hinderaker. I'm here to talk about that with you and talk about the trends that have shaped this state and dragged us in one direction or another. We're not really we're not realizing the dream we had way back in the early 2000s or even around 2008 or 9 or 10. My name is Lynn Hinderaker. Welcome to WowBiz Nebraska. We're going to get it on right now. You're going to receive a benefit from me, Lynn Hinderaker, right here on WowBiz Nebraska, and it's going to be a benefit that you're going to shake your head and go, oh my gosh, I had no idea. He's absolutely right. Thank you for joining me here on WowBiz Nebraska. It's so exciting to have you here. I've got lots of usable information, exciting information. Some of it's kind of mainstream. Some of it's really coming at you from the fringes of business as it's being practiced today. And I want to tell you, here's what's going on with the rest of the show. It's sort of cool. In a minute here, I'm going to show you how Frosted Mini Wheats and Kellogg's in particular is doing something very interesting about generating sales, but also about being sustainable, about being connected to social issues and enabling their customers to do positive things by purchasing not just their own box of shredded wheat in this particular case, but also Frosted Flakes and some other branded products that they produce. But here's the key. If you stick around to the back end of the show, you're going to understand they're linking their products to the purchase of other products as well, so they can provide a really kind of a big bang to the shopper, provide a lot of value to them. And this is a formula or an equation that can go a long ways. A grocery store can use it. A lot of different consumer marketers can jump on this particular idea and create value right out of thin air. So really exciting. Stick around for the back end of WowBiz Nebraska. Also, I'm going to talk to you about how the brain works, utilizing some insight from really the 60s and 70s. Ned Herman and I believe it was Roger Sperry, the two of them realized that our brains are not just left and right, as many of us understood, halves of our brains. We've heard this all before, but in fact, they studied the neuronal movement and how it clusters together based upon what's being discussed or looked at or whatever. And so really, it's quadrants. Our brain is divided into 4 segments. And I'm going to explain to you how that works and how you can utilize it to hire or screen people or possibly sell out in the field. So keep an eye on that for me, if you will. Now, also, I'm going to talk to you about how to write sales advertising and how to do it from a copy point of view. There are many companies out there in the B2B sector. They're kind of struggling a little bit with their sales department. They don't really have an advertising person. They don't have a marketer. They may have head of business development. I don't know, but a lot of them are kind of struggling to close deals and open up doors for their particular products. Well, we've got an idea now we want to share with you about how to structure information in such a way that they go, oh, okay, I get it now. If we did this, then the sales prospects would maybe be a little more interested in visiting with us down the road. So we're going to share that formula, very instructional, with you very, very soon. And then finally, we have a new promotional sponsor. Very exciting. It's a franchise opportunity. It's a transportation-oriented thing. So if you're kind of sick and tired of working for the boss for the last 10 or 20 years, and you'd like to get out and do something kind of interesting or different, maybe if you have access to some financing or some bank lender, whatever, you want to stick around and pay close attention to our sponsor for this particular show. It's about a 3-minute summary right in the middle of WowBiz Nebraska right here. So here we go. So here it is. I don't have anything pretty about this, but I'm gonna share an idea with you, and I think you're gonna get it quickly. You know, back when everybody started creating their own website, or you'd hire an outside person to develop one for you, or an artist, or somebody to pull something together, and you have a website. And of course, maybe a little bit of movement with a video or whatever, and so you make it as pretty as you can and good looking, maybe some colors and all that, and we're done, we're good, right? We'll try to get everybody to go to our website. But when you take a look at visitors to your website, I'm going to try to emulate what they're doing, right? They go click, 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 there it is, right? And they're looking in, they kind of get their head down and they're looking real quick. You know, they're looking quick. They're going to spend 8 seconds. They're going to spend 8 seconds on your website. And 99% of the time, they're going to get off your website and your homepage and the top portion of your homepage in particular very rapidly. Very, very rapidly. And if you were watching them, or maybe a third party was watching you, say, well, now, why did you leave so quickly? You know, they say, we're great. We're great. Well, 9 out of 10 people love us. 5 stars. Ranked number 1 or ranked number 2 by this and that organization or association or whatever. We're great. We're great. And we have the opportunity finally, bam, just, we're great. Hire us, you know, buy our product. That's how it goes down, right? But when you go talk to the person that was looking at your site just a few minutes ago and say, why didn't you spend more time? They'll go, well, I couldn't really, the problem that we have at our company, you know, I don't know if they really do that or if they understand or whatever. Our problem seems a little unique and I just can't find anywhere where they do what we are looking for. Oh my goodness, good. Now let me give you the numbers here real quick because I'm glancing down here so I can do it correctly. 88% of B2B marketers admit, this is your company, your website, they admit the home pages talk primarily about their companies, their products, and their services. What's the matter with that? Why don't we get to brag about our product? 59% of your buyers, however, say that most of the content from you and people like you in your industry are useless. They don't care how good you think you are. They're not interested in your bragging or your points or your stars or whatever. And they will not, obviously, slog through your website looking for some place where you say, specifically, we do this, and then you'll have this solution, and it'll be great, and then here's the problem, all solved. That's somewhere back in the back end of the website. They never see it. They never go there. And both parties are unsatisfied with the situation. So I want to tell you this. If you want to talk to somebody that may tell you, look, let's itemize the 2, 3, 4 problems that you have, or that your customers have, and let's talk about how to put those at the top of your website so they go, hey, look at this. They do this. These guys are doing this. We should give them a call. Yeah, that's how you want it to go down, and it's not going to happen now at all. So get ready to make a change at the top of your homepage if you want to get some sales and something really out of that. Oh my God, I just gave you something very powerful. If you never watch this show again, you'll never forget what I just showed you right now. It's very, very powerful and so true. So I mentioned very, very briefly a minute ago this whole bit about mini wheats. So we'll talk about that at the back end of the show, of course. But here's an interesting thing. Do you remember when we were all kids, right? And we played this game called Ante-I Over. Remember that game? It was a great game. Maybe it was a garage or some building on your farm or at your house or whatever, and you get one of your favorite buddies over and you take a ball, typically a rubber ball of some sort, and you say, are you ready? Yeah. Say, Ante-I Over, and you throw the ball up on the roof, typically with enough force that it would dribble over the top of the roof, bounce, might hit the gutter, right? One way or another. Now, this was a great game if you were, like baseball, for instance. You're trying to become a little bit more savvy and catch the ball and all that kind of stuff. But this was a very common game. But what was cool about it, right, and it's such a great metaphor for today in business, is that the uncertainty of the whole thing was what was exciting, right? When the other person said, hey, Lynn, Ante-I Over, they're saying, get ready. And I'm like, yeah, and I got a big grin on my face, right? Because I know it could go here, it could go there. And it was kind of fun to try to chase the ball and catch it, and maybe one hand, who knows? So I was wound up, same thing. I got it. All right, you get 1 point or whatever the game is, but back and forth, ante-I over. Now, this is all about, again, being prepared to move so as to catch the ball, right? So here in business, in this day and age, very uncertain period of time, a lot of people think things are going badly. A bunch of other people pointing to statistics saying things are actually going quite good. Inflation has softened badly and so on. So everything's getting better and better. And then another group of people say, oh, it's not getting better and better. Our world is changing. It's terrible. And our country's bad. And the people in the community are bad. And I don't get along with anybody anymore. And my son and his brother-in-law and their wives are all unhappy, depression, malaise, all this kind of stuff, right? So there is an unevenness about our culture right now. And so the notion of throwing a ball over another building and then challenging somebody to catch it is a lot like, launching a new product or service. The marketing department says, here comes guys, we've got the concept. We know now that people want to buy this. And so they flip the ball over into the operations department. Yeah. Got it. We got it. Okay. We're going to produce it, get it out the door, distribute it, and so on. A lot of similarities to this back and forth thing, the uncertainty. And by the way, in the B2B world in particular, there's a real, notion about should we stop? Should we not do this? Should we keep changing? Should we just hang on and hope we can hang out and kind of get through this phase, whatever this phase really is? We can't seem to attract workforce. This is a huge issue in the state of Nebraska. We can't seem to get anybody to want to work for us. Then we go off in a corner over here and we talk to these employers or employees and say, what's the problem? How come you're thinking about leaving? They're jerks, this and that, this and that. Some people say it's all about money. Other people say it's not about money, it's about meaning. And the manager's back over here going, meaning? I don't know how to talk about meaning. All I know how to talk about is money and compensation and benefits and time off and flexible scheduling at the very most. I don't know anything about meaning. So here we are in the middle of this kind of sludge, so to speak, and it's really a very exciting and incredible time for us to be making ourselves slightly better on this, slightly better on that. There's some incrementalism there, to be sure. But really, the companies that are getting it done, they're looking to say, look at these competitors. They're just twiddling their thumbs, hoping everybody comes to work and does okay, blah, blah, blah. Let's go. Let's bolster the marketing budget. Let's launch some new products. Let's blow these guys out of the way, right? Very, very interesting. I remember Nokia. Do you remember Nokia? Way back in 1998 up to about 2008 or 2009. They were a very hip smartphone manufacturer, and they got a new CEO, and he joined them around 2006, 5, 6, 7. And he was worried even then. He saw that the smartphone industry was going to change with Apple, iPhone, and all. It was going to change rapidly. He wasn't sure that his entire organization was even conceiving the changes, and he wasn't sure that they could really keep up with them. But they hung in there for several years, and then finally they got bought by some other company, and a lot of stakeholders, investors brought in the CEO, right, into a big private meeting, and they said, "What in the world? Nokia was the coolest smartphone manufacturer of phones in the whole world just a few years ago, not very long ago. And now all of a sudden you're bankrupt and it's all over, and what the heck?" And do you know that this man, brilliant man, well-respected in the industry, broke down in tears in front of his stakeholders? He says, "I can't really tell you what happened. We just didn't do the right things at the right time. The market moved ahead in a bold fashion. We were back there pedaling just the way we had been for years, but they got ahead of us and we couldn't catch up, and we were no longer valued or respected in the marketplace by the customer." It's an amazing thing. and it was quite a story. And what I'm trying to say here is, in Nebraska, if you're a business owner in Nebraska, don't let that happen to you. Be bold, jump forward. Okay. I'm Lynn Hinderaker with WowBiz Nebraska. I want to tell you something. I'm so excited that you're with us here on the show. We have a new promotional sponsor. This is a company who sticks with us. They just launched. They're very excited about us telling their story in their behalf, as I'm doing right now, as best I can. And the name of that company is Van Gogh. Van Gogh. Now, you can take a long look at this van, and you can see right off the bat that the imagery, the graphics, are representative of the great genius painter from France, Van Gogh, and a madman kind of a genius, the guy who cut off his ear out in the pasture after a woman rejected him. So he did something extremely crazy and severe. But the bottom line was he was quite a painter, as I've mentioned. And so obviously the name, his name, Van Gogh, fits vans here in the marketplace. And it's quite an opportunity. Now, as you know, there are a lot of people out there that are either specialty owners. There's really a buyer for this van, or insofar as traveling in the van. So it'll be up to you to lease a van, carry people around, take them to the shopping mall, take them out to the Nebraska Crossing, a lot of different places that groups, teammates want to go one place or another. And let me tell you, they will choose you with these graphics and so on the outside of this van before they choose anybody else. Let me just say this again. They will choose you. And by the way, you can set up a system where you are coming to the same household or address regularly, week by week, exactly the same time, or you can wait for them to call you and have a dispatcher and so on, and go out and get them. So there are 2 or 3 different ways to operate Van Gogh, but let me tell you, there's some real money to be made in driving these beautiful vans that are decorated so beautifully. And we utilize it as a franchise kind of operation. And we think there are companies all over the United States of America that will want to associate themselves with the Van Gogh name, the brand, the look of the vehicle, transportation. Make it convenient, make it cozy, make it fun, but always have pride, shall we say, that you are running and operating a business that is gorgeous and people talk about once you pull away from their residence. That's right. Check out Van Gogh. Now here's the phone number, 402-208-5519. This is a phone-only kind of discussion. We kind of filter out the people that are calling to make sure that they're the right group of people or person. 402-208-5519. Check out the possibilities you can do as an entrepreneur right here with Van Gogh. Van Gogh. Wow, what an exciting idea. I mean, that is a cool idea, isn't it? What an interesting opportunity. Hey, I just saw some information recently. We all know that here in Omaha, Nebraska, the Joslin Museum is being redesigned and rehabbed and so on. It's a very big project. And there are some other museums in the general area as well. And they're fun to go to and bring the kids and so on. But it was a very interesting headline that was associated with this. And it said, museums are proven to be the best place to make a connection. Isn't that interesting? We all wish we had a network and connections and new friends and so on, And it's been proven that when you walk into a museum, there's a sense of, I don't know what it is, it's a sense of greatness maybe, a sense of elevation, a sense of maybe you're acting at a more intelligent level maybe. It's like being around geniuses, and you all of a sudden become a little more intelligent yourself, and then another person, that you're visiting with or two. Maybe you meet clients or prospects in a museum. I'm not kidding about this. I suggest that you think about this, find the museums that are closest to you and set up a couple appointments there in the lobby of the museum, or maybe just take a general sauntering. Coneco, by the way, has a similar appeal down in the Old Market area here in Omaha. And just take a stroll and chat about your business and the problems and how they feel about it and what we think about it. And so it's just an incredible place, an incredible environment. So we're talking about art. All right, that's the gist. But I want to share with you an idea that profitability in business, now normally people say, well, it's scientific. Profitability is data, and you cut here, you cut there, you add a little top on here, hit a couple buttons, boom, that should be our margin. Everything's great, you know. But it's not really quite that way. It's not quite as easily done as that as you might imagine. So I've got a couple ideas, the art of profitability, and you can see right here this general idea, a beautiful piece of art. And then, of course, our phrase right here that we're discussing are the art of profitability. Absolutely, yes. And so I just want to say this, for instance, the people that make a lot of money, that are profitable, also happen to be the same people that understand the consumer, the end user, better than anybody else. Right? And they have systems, you know, for assimilating and working with your product and applying it in some other way or selling it or whatever. So if you know the systems that they utilize, you can configure your organization, your product, and so on, and you can kind of come at them with a specially configured product or service or system that works easily and nicely with their stuff. And wow, what a cool thing, right? To be able to make, you know, maybe you're going to make 2%, right? 3% more than a competitor because you understand the customer and their needs better than anybody else. Now, when I talk to people, I call them on the phone all the time and I say, hey, you want to talk about some research? Why don't we do some customer interviews and find out how your customer has changed and everything is changing and so on and so forth, you know? And this is what I hear. Oh, well, thanks, Lynn, but we know our customer, you know. No, you don't. No, you don't. Right? I call people up and say, hey, you know, your customer, it's kind of interesting. They've changed a little bit. It seems like you got some new competitors and so on. Maybe you might want to go out and just, you know, have somebody like myself, a researcher, ask a few questions, find out what is really going on in their head and in their heart. Right? Yeah, I never thought about that. That's kind of an interesting idea. Why don't you get back to me in a week or two and I'll give it some thought. I always thought that we knew what we were doing, but you're right, things have changed and so on. So maybe you're right, Lynn. Get back to us about that. Now we're going to talk a little bit about this brain thing. I mentioned a little bit earlier, but here's an exciting, I'm going to be very specific right now. Some of you are very linear thinkers. You're systematic, you're rational, you're realistic, you know. And then you got some other guys over here, and they're kind of conceptual and abstract and theory oriented and so on. And they seem to get excited when they see, I don't know, certain pictures. They get emotional. They they kind of imagine scenarios, imagine new market segments, which is kind of interesting. Seems like it's okay, but not me. I'm realistic. I know where we're going, who we are, what we really mean. And this is what goes on in organizations and as well as inside your brain. Let me give you a couple quick examples, and I'll be very fast. If you're talking to somebody who's dominated by the left portion of their brain, they gather data, they're very much into that, they analyze the data, and their concern is for the bottom line. You know, they want to get to the bottom line, profitability, as we discussed. However, if you talk to somebody who has the right hemisphere of their brain, kind of movement and energy and so on, these are people who want to take in many pieces of information. Okay, that's interesting. They look for hidden possibilities. These are right brain people we're talking about, hidden possibilities. And their concern is for creative or unusual answers. Creative or unusual answers. All right, let's go back to some more of the left brain guys. These are left limbic. They're kind of dominated by the limbic portion of the brain. They like to list many options, then they select carefully from those options. And their concern, this type, again, part of the left hemisphere of your brain, is for implementation. They just want to make sure that we get this stuff done. That's what I care about. How are we going to do it for sure? Now, you talk to the people that have a right hemisphere dominance, and again, they're in the limbic portion of the brain that's very deeply embedded inside the brain. These are people who discuss options as well, but they decide based on others' input. It's very important to them what other people say and what they like and all that good stuff. Their concern is for how it will affect others and themselves. People will say this, well, they'll love that. Here's another one. Their approach is emotional and intuitive. Okay? Now, these are people that probably would be salespeople, by the way. They have a gut reaction. As soon as they walk into the office and they get a vibe from the receptionist or somebody back in the back office, they have a gut feeling immediately whether or not they're going to be well received and they'll be able to make a sale and so on and so forth. So this is so interesting, and if you were to be hiring somebody, it would make a great deal of sense to take advantage of the Herman Brain Dominance Instrument, HBDI, so you can find out. Now, all four types of these people, left brain, right brain, front, back, etc., they're all very bright. All of them can do the job, perhaps, but it could be extremely helpful to understand whether they're left cerebral, left limbic, right cerebral, or right limbic, so that you could place them in the right position at the right time and in the right department with the right manager or right supervisor. And that's the bottom line on the four segments of the human brain. I'm Lynn Hinderaker with WowBiz Nebraska. Thank you for sticking with me. Exciting information. I'll see you next time right here on WowBiz Nebraska. See you soon. Don't miss it. Bye-bye.